Woo! A weird, interesting, surprisingly, all the things you could say about Raw. Uh, was trying to figure out basically how after Castle, how some things would happen here, and I was like, some things did, some things progressed, some things took a weird turn. I think that the way that this show ended was I was like a good sandwich. I think it was the start and from the end and everything in between. Let's just get into it. Did not see the fact that Seth Rollins was coming back. I was like I did not know how long he was going to be out necessarily because we was all like with his injury and stuff like that. But apparently not that long. Came right back, sort of, did a little spill, soaked in, everything. Kind of, I was like, he gave us a good send off after WrestleMania, of course, and basically like he already's like ready to get back in action. Basically want to get that title back. So Damien Priest comes out and they basically set up Seth Rollins, Damien Priest at Money in the Bank. Did not see this coming. Not alone, not just because at first, even then, I thought that Seth Rollins was coming out. Like maybe they was just like, "Hey, yo, Seth, you want to come through? You know, introduce us." Cause he made it sound like he was the host of tonight's Raw. That's what he sort of made it sound like. So I'm just thinking, oh, okay, cool. He's just gonna come in and do little like guest hosting thing because he's still hurt. Nope. Apparently, this dude's able to wrestle. So, guess what? That's what we're going to get at Money in the Bank. I thought that Priest was probably going to fight Braun because Braun is still the Judgment Day side and stuff. So, I thought that's really what the match was probably going to be. But hey, whatever. That's the match we're going to get. I think it's going to be really cool. I think that Damien Priest, I'm already saying now, is going to beat Seth Rollins because I think they're now going to start loading Damien Priest up with credible people. He beat Drew McIntyre, whatever way you want to say. He beat Drew McIntyre. He's going to beat Seth. I think he might actually beat Gunther too, to be honest. Um, and then I think they might try to do something crazy at the neck, then after that one or whatever. But I think they're about to go on a run with Damian Priest, to be honest. Um, yeah, so that should be fun. Give a little solid thing for his title run. Um, I was like, then we pretty much got Chad Gable, like trying to figure out like basically what was going on with his squad and stuff like that when he was talking with Adam Pierce and whatnot. But hey, he got a match against Braun Strowman. He didn't know it until he got out there. But it's really weird, Braun being like the I hate bullies guy, but whatever. You gotta have a character. Um, yeah, and he pretty much just beat Chad. I was like, which in a weird way, kind of like, oh, okay, cool. He's on a little streak, but whatever. I like that. I was like, I was surprised they didn't reference at all, like the last time that those two. I think this is the first time they've been together since their WrestleMania, like 2 years ago, or whatever. Neither here nor there. Wait, no. I know he never mind. They did, yeah, they fought each other, but they wasn't a tag team partner. That's what it was because that was that whole cool moment when he basically flipped Braun and did that whole German suplex thing. So never mind, got it down pat. Um, yeah. So in the course of the match, pretty much, Chad. I was like afterwards, Chad was mad. I was like nobody's gonna help him. So he confronted Akira. He said, I was like, which he basically did he confront Maxine got in front of him. He basically got her because she on one crutch, so she threw that thing out there. And as Otis is over here with Maxine, Akira is like I was like Chad is in his face, slaps him. Akira's funny as hell because he took that slap and just went to sleep. And that's when Otis just was like got mad, pushed Chad into the corner, and basically got his whole gyrating thing going on, and then he basically walked out. And we'll see later on that they pretty much left Chad in the Alpha Academy. I thought it would have went a different way. I thought it would have been like a little more impactful. Not saying that he would have beat up Chad necessarily, but I thought it'd be a little bit differently. But hey, um, Everybody been wanting this anyway, so guess what? He's out. Or for right now, we'll see how that all goes. Um, then we're all backstage, and Dom is looking for his vest and whatnot. And it's like, oh my god. Uh, I was like, earlier on, Pat McAfee did a telestory where he basically showed Finn was taking the key card. Priest asked about Money in the Bank, and he's like, "What you gonna do?" He basically like, "I'm gonna win it," and he's like, "Okay, so what you gonna do with that?" He's like, "I'm gonna cash it in on Goldie," and everybody like, "Ha ha ha, chuckle." Then he asked him about the key card, and he's like, "Yeah, I took like basically like, what are you insinuating here? I took it to make sure that Dom was out of trouble. Duh, nothing else." Anyway, so Carlito got a match basically later on, so all of them basically got to go and stuff like that. Dom's still looking for his vest. And with that, we have a triple threat match for the qualification for the women's Money in the Bank, which is between Zelina, Io, and Kiana James. And it was a really fun match. It was a hell of a match. It was fast paced. I was like, it was hitting each other with moves. And to be honest, the real wild card here was really Kiana James, because I was like, Zelina been there long enough. We know what EO could do. So what was she going to impact into the whole thing? And at first, it really was sort of like the veterans here. You know, EO and Zelina going back and first. You know, doing, EO doing her moonsault, Zelina doing a meteor, which I swear, those things look cool and they look like they hurt like a mug. Just imagine just landing on your knees several times. Cause I was like, you pretty much got to take that impact more so than the person that's there when you're doing, especially on the outside. But I was like, they did give Kiana James her time to shine, especially like later on as the match kept going. I was like, basically her like bodying up, doing a lot of the gymnast moves. Like that was kind of cool. Like where she's just like pushed, like she like tackled EO into the corner. Then she back flips, and then she turns around, and then she basically does it to Zelina or whatever. I was like, she was really more the strength in the match as well too. So she was doing a lot of like carrying them and stuff like that as they're trying to do their moves, but whatnot. Cause they're two more high flyers and they're smaller. But anyway, during the match, basically Liv Morgan comes out, and she's the one that got Dom's little cow vest and distracts Zelina enough where basically I was like, Kiana James basically takes her out, but EO then takes her out, and EO gets the spot from that. So, fun. It was a really good match. I was like, then we get Sami Zayn coming out. I do like Sami Zayn. It just sometimes when he talks, I'm just like, I don't care. I was like, but I want to watch his matches, and even then I was watching him. I was like, man, Triple H is gonna make that dude a heavyweight champion at one point. I just don't feel like hearing him talk. But I think that's also because in a lot of his talk, I'm like, since he is sort of the ultimate underdog, he's not really ever put in there like that. You know, like there gotta be a real story. Like when he was with Roman, that's a real underdog story. He's any other time he's not really the underdog story. You know, I was like, you got a chance. Anyway, he's over here like basically he done with Chad, needs a new person to fight. Who's gonna be a new person? So that when we get Braun comes out, ho ho ho, coming out, and basically doesn't say much, just being like, yo, you should give me that championship title shot. Then we get Sheamus coming out, and then Sheamus like, okay, youngster, why don't you pipe down and earn yourself a shot? I'm the one that's over here longing for a title shot, buddy. I try to do like an old person voice. I don't know. Yeah, with Sammy's and like, hey, sounds like y'all two got something y'all need to settle in the ring, and that's what they'll do later on. But now before we get Dragon Lee talking about how basically Carlito and the Judgment Day basically be getting on his nerves and sabotaging him and all this other stuff. And that's the match we get. And let's just get to the main point. Liv comes out after Judgment Day is out there with LWO. And he's like, "There's my vest. You got my vest." And she's like, "Yeah, I got your vest. Yeah, don't you want to?" And all this other stuff. And as soon as that happens, Lena comes out, basically snags Liv, and they just sort of like brawl a little bit. But Carlito gets the win over Dragon Lee. And it's really looking like how I said last week, that looks like Zelina's probably going to be Liv Morgan's match at Money in the Bank. Um, yeah, which I think will be a fun match. Um, yeah, and I was like Carlito Judgement Day LWL. It's just still going along. Um, then we got basically a small match of Damien Control and the Party Girls. The Party Girl were basically they were able to get the win because of Lyra Valkyria, but all this did was cause basically the fact that Io is breaking mentally about this whole thing, losing to Lyra and all of them. Yeah, the short match and stuff like that. Then we start hitting the big times. I was like, you gotta have you gotta have a couple of lettuce in between this sandwich. But here comes the meat. It's Braun Breaker and Sheamus. And I was like, this was a banger. And I know Sheamus he be taking the beats, but he be giving out the beats. But Braun Breaker out here giving the beats. They over here just doing rough spots. Like they just like basically go through the ropes. But the craziest moment was that Sheamus was at the announcer table. Braun Breaker jumps from the ring to like a body clothesline to Sheamus all the way. And it's like, what is going on here? That's crazy. And look, I was like, they're just going through it. The only bad spot was basically Braun Breaker slipping when he was trying to do the Hurricanrana on Sheamus, which he sort of did do a Hurricanrana. It just wasn't as effective. And I was like, it took him a minute to recover from that because Sheamus did his try to do his move and whatnot. But hey, after that, I was like, everybody started booing because then Ludwig Kaiser comes out there to cost Sheamus the match, which is a DQ and all this other stuff. And I was like, oh man, they didn't let this settle, and I was like, the crowd was booing, and they was like one of them real boos too, where they were like, you mother, but they saved it. They saved it, like because Sheamus is doing his thing, fighting Ludwig Kaiser, and around the corner, when he throws Ludwig over where the announcers are speaking, Sheamus gets hit with a spear. And then, everybody got to calm down because they got to be like, we got to contain Braun Breaker. So Braun Breaker starts like drifting off. And he's sort of like at the top of the ring. Not at the ramp. He at the bottom ramp, but at the top of the ring. And he's moving there. Ludwig Kaiser gets up, sees Sheamus, and basically like, oh snap, I'm going to start beating his ass right here. So he started doing it. Then he starts setting them up at the ring steps. He took the knee pad and he's going to do the thing he going to do with the eliminator to his knee. That's what I'm going to call it. And they say, since they made it like he eliminates people. Now, when he's at the steps setting up Sheamus. Now, this is before my mind was already like, yo, it'd be crazy as hell if Ludwig Kaiser does his running thing and Braun Breaker does his running thing and hit his ass with a spear. I see Braun Breaker at the top of the ring, well, at the bottom of the ramp, and in my head I'm like, they're gonna do this. They're gonna do this spot. Are they gonna do this spot? This is crazy. I cannot believe it. I was like, this is one of the times I actually was like excited. I was like, oh my god, they gonna let him kill him? Oh, this is gonna be fun. They're gonna be crazy. And by God, if that's not what happened. Like, Ludwig kind of rolled in the ring, he rolled at the top, and then you just see him take off. You know what it made me think of? It made me think of when Captain America and Black Panther was both running in Wakanda side by side, where they was matching each other energy, because this is what this basically was. Because it was just like worlds collide, and I'm not talking about the wrestling game, where he just speared Ludwig Kaiser, and I was like, oh my God, that was ridiculous. Then at that point, him looking at Sammy, and then he pushes Sammy, so then Sammy's all ready to go. Man, I don't know when they're gonna do it. I don't know how. I was like, I don't know if they're going to do a rematch with Sheamus or he just going to do what they will. Look, I'm not saying I'm not against it if he beats Sammy for that championship. Putting that out there. Yeah, so then we got Jey, Ray, and Finn for a triple threat qualification match for the men's Money in the Bank championship match. I was like, look, we basically got Jey won with interference from Dom and JD and Carlito to Rey Mysterio. But we basically won off the fact that Finn Balor did a coup de grace on Ray. But as he's doing a pin, Jey gets the splash on Finn for the 1, 2, 3. I will say before this, forgot to say, is that as Dom is looking for a vest, he does find it. It's on Liv. Liv said, hey, don't know where you're going to get this if you take it off me. I'll even help you a little bit, start halfway. So then Dom is reluctantly over here being like, while also being like a little bit like, it's a win-win scenario. I got my vest and other stuff. So they're doing it. Damien Priest sees him, confronts him, tell him to get out of the gear, go on somewhere, or it might happen later. Whatever. It happened, and we'll see how that goes, cause boy. But yeah, no, I was like, Jey gets it. I didn't have really any doubts that Jey was going to get into this match first in this way. I was like, I'm pretty sure they might do like the losers of them, like have one final match or something like that. Jey wasn't going to do that. They wanted to make sure that he solidified into being Money in the Bank. As we're doing that, as he's celebrating in the crowd, doing his whole yeet thing, the lights start to go out. And fireflies start popping up. Which at the same time could also be the thing for Jey Uso. But anyway, fireflies start coming out. It's like, oh, snap. And I was like, oh, that's right. We're getting the Uncle Howdy stuff tonight. So, wait, man, they going up the thing. And I was like, look, I don't know about everybody else. I was like, I like this kind of stuff in wrestling just because I'm like it never, I was like, especially if it's done right, I'm always like, why can't this be here? Now it's gonna be. I was like, well, I'll just talk about it sort of towards the end. I was like, formerly known as Nikki Cross comes up and her little getup. I was like, the mask was good. I was like, the outfit was right. Like there was nothing out of it that would just look like how when it was like some cheesy bullshit that like I'm trying to think like not like when Mace and all of them came out with the mask and stuff like that looked crappy or whatever, which is I'm fine with crappy if that's the characters, like that's their personality, like whatever. Anyway, so she comes out crawling on some little grudge type stuff, and then she's appointed, and we just go to the back, and as we're going to the back, we just see destruction. I was like, we just see security guard on the ground, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that was Ronan because he had the hammer. Then we go into the gorilla position area, and some dude looked like he got blasted, just blood splatter on the wall. I thought it was an episode of ID 24, all them shows. I want to say that felt like that was Braun Strowman that was laid out over there. It was a bald-headed dude, but he was awfully big, and that's why I'm like, and I was like, I couldn't tell. Like, it almost looked like that was Carlito up there as well. Because it was like all black, like how Carlito wear, but you couldn't see because he was all pinned out. Now, I couldn't see JD or nothing like that. So I was like, I don't know. But that looked like Braun, and that one sort of looked like Carlito in a way that made me think. Because I was like, they did run away. And I was like, I know they ran backstage. I mean, they ran through the crowd, but that's the area they were going to go back to. Anyway, so then we keep going further inside. Ran into a dude right there that had on the pig mask. Went a little bit further, and then we get to Chad Gable, and I was like, he should. No, probably better he didn't have Alpha Academy because I couldn't imagine. I was like, Akira gonna be laid the hell out. He would have played that well as hell. Maxine probably just been cowering the fear in the corner. That's probably what they would have did with her. But Chad Gable looked like somebody just drilled into his socket and just left him there. Then we get to see Uncle Howdy, And then Uncle Howdy proceeds through, just sort of laughing and cackling with his whole rest of the group until they make it all the way out there to Nikki Cross with the lantern. And basically, like, I'm here, and we done. I was like, the light blowing could have been better. You know, you can see the difference between that and Bray. One's a pro. What I'm hoping is that I'm like, is that they mix in the spooky with being the actual group. And by that I mean, even though it was the spooky stuff and it was the stuff as they were walking through and stuff like that and people down, I was like, you could do it in that way because it's all shot the way it was and set up the way it was. But I would like it if they could do that type of stuff while also being like an actual group where it's like they're not like ghost superhuman type thing, but stuff just happens to happen. They could do certain things in the backstage, but I was like, but they're a faction, they're a group where it's like, for instance, if the four didn't want to fight the four Judgment Day, they can actually fight. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm hoping. That it's like they're like a group. They're like an actual group that just happen to have some type of spooky power, but they're not. But it's not no crazy level of stuff, and nothing where it's just like, you know. I was like, ring wise, it should just be fighting. They could just do this stuff. Whereas back there in the backstage, that's where stuff can happen. Where it's like the lights flicker out, or they on the other side of the mirror and they didn't see it, like that type of stuff. That's where I think some of that stuff should play, and not on in the match or whatever. It's gonna be tricky to see how it does, but I'm here for it. I was like, I like this stuff. It should be on Raw with 3 hours. It'll be interesting to see how this all goes. I think the fact that it's new and it's in honor of Bray will give it a lot more latitude to do well or to see what happens than in some other cases somebody else would have did it that doesn't have the connection. I was like, and even sometimes then we was tricked with Bray Wyatt and his stuff, but we were going to give that some time as well too. So we're going to see how this all goes. But anyway, that was Raw. Like I said, Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker. I was like, the Zelina, EO, Kiana James match, Uncle Howdy. I was like, really good episode of Raw coming off Clash at the Castle. Drew McIntyre, I also should have said, is quitting WWE. Going to be sort of odd how that goes because we know he resigned, so it would have been better if he didn't resign when he said this. But to me, it's also the same thing of like what Jey Uso did. Would that be funny? That ties in somehow. Where somebody brings it up, not necessarily Jey. Maybe Jey does. But you could quit while still being in contract. Whatever. Maybe he just signed and just like, you know what, I thought I was going to get something there. Whatever. They'll have some way to do it. But anyway, until next episode or whatever happens in wrestling. Peace. I'm out.